It's nice that we have games that do exactly what we expect them to do, and that's just fine and dandy, but have you ever craved an experience that leaves you thrown off, confused, or otherwise disturbed? Well, good, because I've got you covered with a selection that'll make you question your sanity just as much as your moral compass. Get uncomfortable, because I'm serving up macro doses of weirdness for the next little bit, starting with number 1, Golden Light. Welcome to the Meat Zone, where doors scream as you open them, weapons whisper sweet nothings in your ear, and your only hope for survival might be a rotten banana. Golden Light is a roguelike FPS that swan dives face first into body horror and comes up laughing through a mouth in its stomach. Everything is meat. The walls, the guns, the vending machines, every object you trust might be a mimic. That barrel, meat. The typewriter, likely meat. And the key items that you desperately need, oh look, they just grew teeth and ran away. It's an entire game built around making you doubt your senses, where paranoia is part of the UI and death is just an excuse to unlock more meat upgrades like flesh radar. Underneath all of that screaming awful, though, is a genuinely good shooter. Procedural levels offer verticality and dread in equal measure. Guns degrade, mutate, or speak, and the meat bikes sometimes help. You scavenge food not to eat, but to fuse with your guts, changing your run one cursed hot dog at a time. And then there's the poetry. Yeah, actual meat poetry that oozes from the ground and delivers lore like a pig-faced Homer with a god complex. It doesn't matter if you understand it. The game is just having fun, and if you want to live, you better start speaking the language of the protein. Number 2. Who's Lila? Have you ever heard that your face is a mask? Well, in Who's Lila, there's no dialogue options to pick. You manually contort your character's face into expressions and hope that people around you understand what you're trying to say. For instance, if you want to smile, you have to pull up the corners of your mouth, but just a bit. You don't want to overdo it, or it'll look like a nervous grimace. The whole game is like role-playing as a wax figure trying to pass for a human, and that's before the murder mystery, the missing girl, and the bathroom portal to another dimension. It's built with the bones of a noir thriller, but has the body of a Lynchian funhouse. The game's world is full of disjointed characters, cryptic objects, and background details that'll shift when you're not looking. The visual style is unsettling in that washed-out pre-rendered way, like a PlayStation-era survival horror mixed with concrete. Every decision, every twitch of an eyebrow branches into a new timeline. Sometimes you'll get a newspaper headline, sometimes you get a giant flesh entity named William screaming at you from the other side of a mirror. But no matter what path you take, one thing remains true. Your face doesn't know what it's doing, and neither do you. Number 3. Everhood. So, it looks like someone spilled Undertale into a lava lamp, but then the music kicks in, not just background music, but full-blown neon-drenched bullet hell rhythm combat that hijacks your screen and turns every fight into a rave being DJ'd by an evil sentient arcade cabinet. The name of the game is Endurance, and you'll be dodging sound waves and laser bars to prove your mettle. You play as a one-armed wooden doll, just vibing through a world of immortal frogs, rapping mushrooms, and very talkative vending machines. But then the tone starts to change. The narrative gets all loosey-goosey and steps outside itself. The NPCs you danced with up to that point start breaking the fourth wall, and important choices begin to appear. Morality itself becomes a mechanic, and you'll realize this is more than just a quirky little rhythm game. But you must press on, and if you go all the way, it turns the volume up to God and asks you to make peace with what you've done. Number 4. Drive Beyond Horizons. The road hums beneath you, but something's amiss. The sky pulses in unnatural shades, buildings lean at incorrect angles, and every gas station has a name like Memory's End or The Last Stop Again. Drive Beyond the Horizons begins like a road trip and dissolves into an existential traffic jam of warped landscapes and sentient machinery. The world will reshape itself as you pass through it. A familiar interchange might sprout teeth, and a friendly hitchhiker might ask if you've dreamed this place before. It plays like a driving sim built on broken folklore, where landmarks mutate and route planning becomes an act of faith. Your survival ultimately hinges on scavenging supplies, tuning your vehicle, and navigating increasingly abstract terrain that refuses to stay grounded in reality. What starts as scavenging for gas and food eventually turns into negotiating with roadside cults and decoding cryptic weather patterns. The car is your lifeline, but it's also clearly watching you. The further you'll go, the more the road feels alive, like it's learning from you, or maybe remembering you. Whatever's waiting beyond the next ridge has been waiting there for a long time. Number 5. Squirrel with a Gun. You are, in fact, a squirrel, and you absolutely have a gun. And that's all it takes for Squirrel with a Gun to spiral into glorious mayhem. A third-person sandbox where the tiniest mammal on the block is packing heat and absolutely refusing to play by the rules of nature or physics. Grab a Glock and watch it launch you across a cul-de-sac. Utilize recoil to double jump through suburban windows, or mug innocent pedestrians for snacks or phones, then zip off into the trees like a caffeinated little bandit. Despite the chaos, there's a strange coherence to it all. The squirrel moves with skittery precision, interacting with the world like a tiny gremlin with an action movie budget. Though it is worth noting that the controls can feel a little, squirrely. Secret agents will try and fail to wrangle you into submission. You can sneak through government bunkers or spend 30 minutes perfecting your acorn heist getaway route. It's physics-based nonsense held together by pure commitment to the bit, and somehow it works. The squirrel isn't just armed, he's dangerous, and he's got places to be. Number 6. The Magic Circle. You are stuck inside of a game that does not work, and not in the funny, it's buggy kind of way. It's the existential, its creators gave up halfway through and now it's eating itself kind of way. The Magic Circle is an unfinished fantasy epic where placeholder assets argue with old gods and abandoned mechanics claw at the edges of design hell. You start out as a passive observer in a gray box prototype, but very quickly the game hands you a dev tool and challenges you to start messing with the guts. So want a fire-breathing mushroom that follows you around like a loyal dog? Done. Want to turn an enemy into a harmless teleporter? Sure. Your job is to finish the game or break it in the process. But beneath the glitchy charm is a vicious takedown of game development itself. The characters bicker like burned out developers trapped in their own vaporware, and there's the washed up Artur clinging to his legacy archetype, the new blood full of ideas but no authority, and many in between. The result is a mixture of satire and digital archaeology, a sandbox full of abandoned ideas, broken ambitions, and creative sabotage. In the end, it's about making the game yours, no matter what's left standing by the end. Number 7. The Eternal Cylinder. The game spawns you into an alien planet moments before a world-ending monolith awakens. The cylinder stretches across the horizon, rolling forward with absolute ominousness, flattening everything in its path. You are what's known as a trebhum, a soft, bug-eyed creature that survives by mutating, swallow a mushroom and grow legs, eat a crab and gain sonar, absorb a gelatinous orb and suddenly you're immune to fire. Adaption is the name of the game, and it is the only way you're going to stay ahead of the dreaded cylinder. The whole world operates as if a sentient ecosystem and a hallucinogenic terrarium had a child. Flora will sing, the fauna casts judgment, puzzles, predators, and the occasional floating cube god make every step a negotiation with physics and panic. The cylinder isn't something you can beat though, it's something you have to learn to live with, like gravity. And while it advances in bursts, always pausing for the next story beat, its presence never fades. If you wish to survive, then you must evolve into something too weird to die. Number 8. Hylics 2. A claymation man karate chops a meat wizard and rides a jellyfish into the sky while a synth soundtrack warps in the background like it's been microwaved. That is Hylics 2, and yes, it's the bear's nipples. Despite being a sequel, it doesn't expect you to know anything. The story, the characters, the world, all of it operates like a dream where continuity is less important than vibe density. The story beats are abstract, characters speak in scrambled poetry, and the world operates on tone much more than logic. Combat blends real-time movement with turn-based spells called gestures, letting you karate your way through eyeball towers and gelatinous fortresses. You'll gather a party of beautifully weird companions, each more cryptic and stylish than the last, and surf the landscape on a creature named Critter. There's a plot buried in there somewhere, something about Gibby, the moon, and mental hygiene, but it's more fun to just absorb it all. Hylics 2 does not explain itself at all, and it's better that way. It's a melted wax sculpture of a JRPG, and it's a lot of fun. Number 9. The Longing. There are 400 days left until the king awakens, and you're alone deep beneath the earth. You play as the Shade, a small, sorrowful creature tasked with waiting. That waiting, those 400 days, are 400 real-time days. The timer ticks down even when you're not playing. You can spend that time exploring the vast subterranean world, reading real-world classics in your little library, decorating your damp rock home, or simply sitting in the dark and doing nothing. The Longing is a game about time, loneliness, and perhaps freedom, depending of course on what you choose to do with all of that slowness. Despite the molasses uphill pace, the underground is full of strange beauty and secrets. Caverns stretch for miles, puzzles unlock only after days or weeks, moss grows slowly, drips echo like lullabies, and you begin to form a relationship with the waiting itself. Some paths take literal months to open, others require defying your orders. The game isn't pushy, it challenges you to be patient, to be curious, or to rebel. Whether you obey, wander, or disappear entirely is up to you, and that ticking clock never stops. Number 10. Indika. I know I already talked about this one on my short games list, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to mention it here too, because this game is freaking weird. Indika trudges across a fractured version of 19th century Russia in a nun's habit, accompanied by a voice in her head that may or may not be the devil. The game blends third-person exploration with surreal detours into other genres, including glitchy retro platformers, grotesque minigames, and sequences that twist gameplay into metaphor. There's a plot, sure, but it's less about the journey and more about the spiritual rot underneath it. Religious trauma leaks into the architecture. Industrial hellscapes emerge into view without warning, and behind every interaction is a sense that something's gone profoundly wrong with the world, with Indika herself, and whatever created both. It plays like a narrative game, but it never stays in one lane for long. In one instance you're pushing a cart through snow, the next you're racing a rubbery Satan across a PlayStation 1 void. The game shifts tones constantly. Absurdity crashes into sincerity, humor into horror, faith into farce, and it holds together with conviction. You don't need to understand everything to feel the weight of it. Indika's is a strange, deep, and painful story, and it's worth going into this one as blind as possible. Number 11, 420 BLAZEIT 2. Game of the Year, Dank Dreams, and Goated Memes. So imagine if 2013 meme culture got cryogenically frozen, force-fed an energy drink sponsorship, and then shot out of a cannon into modern Unity lighting. 420 BLAZEIT 2 takes the military shooter genre, disassembles it, deep fries the pieces, and sets the whole damn thing to dubstep. You're Agent 69, armed with an arsenal that includes air horn rifles, Dorito grenades, and a golden AK that screams wrecked every time you get a headshot. The game's UI looks like it was modded by a methed up YouTube comment comment section. Enemies are Illuminati clones, Shrek commandos, and MLG Doge bots that explode into Mountain Dew logos. But what's really wild here is that under all the all-caps nonsense, the game actually plays really well. Sliding through neon corridors while no-scoping pyramid heads at 999 frames per second is stupidly satisfying. There's a meme dial that lets you adjust how cursed the visuals get, with options ranging from tasteful to your GPU will file a complaint. Boss fights include a tactical vape cloud and a giant blue train named Domas that launches dank bombs. It should be unplayable, but its overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam say otherwise. Up next at number 12, Ace of Seafood. A mackerel drifts through murky waters, trailing particle effects and armed with lasers. Somewhere nearby, a formation of shrimp is preparing a full frontal assault, while a crab rolls in like armored infantry. Ace of Seafood reimagines marine life as hyper-aggressive, bullet-hell squadrons locked in an eternal war beneath the waves. It plays like a jet fighter sim trapped inside an aquarium, except the fish shoot energy blasts, capture bases, and swim in tactical salmon squad formations. The combat is frantic, the world is bizarrely structured, and nothing about it ever tries to make a lick of sense. Instead of realism, the game commits fully to its seafood arms race. Every new enemy defeated can be added to your party. That's coral turrets, swordfish torpedoes, laser lobsters, and there's a colony system to expand your reach, a leveling system to power up your fish army, and just enough strange lore to suggest humanity's long gone. What remains is an underwater battlefield where aquatic evolution has gone full anime. It's part sim, part shooter, and entirely unhinged in the best ways possible. Number 13, Thumper. Metal grinds against void black track as a beetle-shaped vessel hurtles forward. Locked into a rhythm it can't escape. Thumper delivers pure velocity through a minimalist control scheme and maximalist sensation. The screen pulses, the music hits like a concrete wall, and every input feels like you're carving sound into motion. Obstacles are challenges, yes, but they're also instruments. Corners crack like snares, walls crash like cymbals. Every perfectly timed turn is a violent duet between reflex and atmosphere. Bosses take the form of colossal heads with digital snares and oscillating sigils, responding to each flawless section with more fury. Miss a beat and the whole world punishes you for it, but as levels spiral deeper, something else kicks in, a trance state where movement, sound, and visual noise collapse into focus. It's harsh, hypnotic, and completely unforgettable. It's simple, yet beautiful, yet also overwhelming, but you'll be glad that you can. Number 14, Metal Wolf Chaos XD. President Michael Wilson defends America the only way he knows how, by climbing into a 100-ton mech suit and launching a one-man war against his traitorous vice president. Metal Wolf Chaos XD is absurd, explosive, and completely sincere. You are the President of the United States, dual-wielding rocket launchers while screaming about justice, liberty, and executing a barrel roll through downtown Chicago. It's janky, loud, and politically incoherent in the most glorious ways imaginable. Originally a Japan-only Xbox release, this remastered edition preserves all the nonsense with just enough polish to make the chaos shine. You'll liberate oil rigs, fight tanks on the White House lawn, and get mission briefings from a press secretary who sounds like she's broadcasting from another dimension. The controls are clunky, the explosions are relentless, and the dialogue is so patriotic it loops into parody and back into power fantasy. This game is just metal, and it freaking rules. Number 15, Nubby's Number Factory. Inside a pastel void of singing machinery and politely deranged robots, Nubby's Number Factory asks one simple question: how far will you go to make numbers go up? You operate as a new hire in a toy-like industrial complex where math is sacred and failure is a felony. Your tasks, they start small: press buttons, sort values, manage machines, but will quickly spiral into recursive systems that require planning and spiritual detachment. Here, numbers are revered, fed into pipes, converted into better numbers, and judged by a sentient Excel sheet with a bow tie. Despite the Fisher-Price aesthetic, the game is pretty oppressive. Each system you master leads to a larger, more esoteric puzzle. Assembly lines will intersect with administrative rituals, the formulas will start to read more like doctrines, and the UI will clutter with cheerful notifications that vibe more like surveillance. There is lore here, hidden behind cheerful slogans and math cults, but the funny thing is how natural it all starts to feel. Nubby's Number Factory actually rewards you for trying to break the system, with promotions, confetti, and more systems to optimize, until, of course, you start to wonder who Nubby really works for. Number 16. West of Loathing. Stick figures ride ghost horses through a monochrome desert where everything feels like a fevered improv session on a dusty stage. This is a comedy RPG drenched in dad jokes and straight up nonsense. It's technically a western, but you'll find necromancers, goblins, cursed cows, and a whole school of snake oil salesmen trying to major in dynamite. The writing carries the entire experience. It is constantly inventive. Even side quests will turn into absurdity, and every dialogue option feels like it was written by someone trying to make the editor laugh. Underneath all of the slapstick goodness is a surprisingly flexible RPG. You can be a bean slinger who weaponizes legumes, a snake oiler with venom grenades, or a melee brute who just really enjoys hitting things with a dirty spatula. There is turn-based combat, puzzles, item crafting, and stat checks, all dressed up in stick figure absurdism. Every inch of the map hides jokes, secrets, and punchlines disguised as plot beats. And by the end, you might not even know what the plot was even about, but you'll definitely remember the haunted pickle factory. Number 17. Baldi's Basics Plus. This game transforms the classic bargain bin edutainment gone wrong game into a breathing labyrinth of nightmare geometry, no algebraic trauma required. Randomized school layouts rearrange hallways, classrooms, and secret doors every run. Math notebooks appear in shifting locations alongside collectible lunchboxes, tape dispensers, and mysterious flashlights. Each tool offers an edge in this survival puzzle. NPCs behave with eerie unpredictability. A bouncing friend might corner you while a roaming principal enforces silent attention with his looming footsteps. Rules will evolve on the fly. Incorrect answers trigger gauntlets of flashing lights and sharpened rulers, while correct solutions grant fleeting shortcuts. The bargain cart lets players trade coins for gadgets, stun batons, springy shoes, or rumor-filled flyers hinting at secret exits. A remixed clip art aesthetic intensifies the absurdity. Doodles wander off pages, chalk dust drifts like ghosts, and the final bell tolls with chilling resonance. If you're looking for a bizarre nostalgia trip with a light twist of horror, this here is your jam.
Number 18. Humanity.
I think I'm getting sick. You embody a spectral Shiba Inu, whose every bark and tail wag commands thousands of faceless avatars. One tap from your paw sends your liquid metal horde marching. Swipes split the mass, or lift it into the air, or press it into narrow tunnels. This surreal puzzle platformer blends crowd simulation with real-time strategy. Every level is a shifting labyrinth of collapsing city ruins and crystalline temples that respond to your canine choreography. It's the spectacle of collective motion that steals the show. Gleaming bodies stack into bridges at your command, spiral up rotating gears, and form grotesque totems to trigger hidden mechanisms, all under the watchful gaze of your twitching ears and glow-filled eyes. Low-poly textures fracture like stained glass as the living sculpture writhes beneath your doge's control. Mistimed barks and traps snapping shut, while perfect synchronization tips platforms under weight. I know this is a puzzle game, and puzzle games can just be bizarre by nature, but here you're conducting an uncanny ballet of flesh and geometry through the voice of a supernatural dog, so that has to count for something. Number 19. Extreme Evolution Drive to Divinity. This here is an expressive platformer welded to a living, organic underworld. In Extreme Evolution, every jump, dash, and tumble shifts your form through a gallery of bizarre avatars. Roll like a tire, cling upside down as a spider, rocket forward as a car, or ricochet like a bouncy sphere. Obstacle design embraces chaos, offering countless overlapping solutions that feel less like puzzles and more like ritual dances with physics. Each site unlocks via diving into glowing portals charged with unseen power, revealing temples sculpted from beating muscle fibers and caverns where translucent crystals pulse with latent energy. The terrain experiments on you, responding to movement with shifting geometry and startling visual echoes. Mutation becomes the mantra as you harvest little weird symbols to graft on explosive propulsion, extra eyes, or skeletal wings. Mastery of these improbable transformation combos unlocks novel traversal tactics and arms you for a final confrontation with a divinity beyond comprehension. And number 20 is Cruelty Squad. This is a corporate dystopia, awash in migraine-inducing color palettes and a diseased UI, where HR memos have more in common with curses and apartments throb with biotech. Levels veer from septic suburbs to organ farms and nightmare office parks. Signage shouts hollow corporate slogans, while architecture glistens with greasy resin and angles that refuse to meet cleanly. The aesthetic feels weaponized, synthetic textures, warped proportions, and clashing colors that seem designed to make your eyes and brain hurt. However, within the hostile visuals is an immersive sim that rewards experimentation as much as execution. Open maps support stealth, chaos, or a hybrid of both, while augments turn your body into a grotesque toolkit. Grappling hooks made of flesh, stomachs that metabolize stolen organs, air dashes that fling you into skylights. Payment for assassinations can be dumped into a volatile stock market, or traded for experimental weapons and unsettling prosthetics. You can even go fishing between hits, pulling bizarre prizes from neon ponds. It's assassination as corporate performance review, measured in blood, profit, and how many mutations you can live with.